Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a scholar of the law, tested him by asking, "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophets depend upon these two commandments." Hello and welcome to Closer Walk Catholic Communications. I'm Father Baye, your host, and we're glad that you can join us. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. One of the great joys that I have is when young couples in the parish come to me and they're expecting. And they're all excited and everything, and it's their first child, and and thanks be to God when a baby's born healthy and everything's okay. And it's really interesting to watch them bring their first child to be baptized, because honestly, both of them look like the Dickens, like they hadn't slept in months. They're worn out, they're ragged, they're very difficult. And and getting a chance to visit with them, it's just amazing. They didn't realize. They knew they were excited. They knew they were expecting. They didn't realize what an impact and how their whole world was totally going to be changed and totally be different with the birth of this child. And I laughed with them and I said, yeah, and it's amazing. Your parents don't want to see you anymore unless you bring the kid, right? And they laughed. But here's the deal. And I've heard this so many times. You just completely think totally different. Before this baby came, we thought about ourselves, we thought about our safety, we thought about our future, we thought about safety. We were good people. But now, everything I hear, I wonder how this is going to impact my child. I'm worried about the school system now. I'm worried about what they allow on the internet now. I pay attention to all these things that I never paid attention to, because I knew myself and my wife and my husband, I knew we weren't going to do that. And we were past that. But now that they allow this, and my child's got to go through that, this stuff really bothers me. I never realized how much this would impact. It's an amazing gift that now they're no longer thinking about themselves. They're thinking about the next generation. They're thinking about years to come. And everything they do and everything they are concerns the welfare of this child. I want to take that concept of the new mom and the new dad, and realizing that their whole life, all their decisions, everything that they do now impacts these children who they love so very much. When he says, you shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, with your whole soul, with your whole mind. How many of us have gotten to that point with God? That our thoughts of God are the same as the thoughts of our children. We know darn good and well everything that we do is going to impact our children. Do we understand that everything we do, how that impacts me, and how that impacts a God who loves me? That he's watching me in every decision and everything that I allow and everything that I participate in and everything that comes out of my mouth and every thought that I allow myself to entertain and encourage and foster, that affects my God. Understanding that is very, very important. Because when we love the Lord our God with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, it's full time. It's everything we do. You know, for instance, a husband goes on, or a wife goes on a business trip. They're away from home. And they're away from the spouse, they're away from the children. Is it okay for them to act unmarried? Is it okay for them to go out and do things that would harm their children or harm their marriage? I don't think so. Would anyone allow? Okay, yeah. Well, you were away from, you were out of town, you were out of state. It's okay. It doesn't matter to me because you weren't home. I don't think so. And it's that same awareness that we have of the people who love us and the people that we love being left behind, that we never get away from it. And the difference is with our loved ones and family and children and spouse and that sort of thing, there's a good chance that we can go somewhere else and we can do whatever we want to do, and there's no way they will ever find out. That's just between you, me, and the lamppost. But when it comes to God, there is no way that we can do things that'll be unknown to the mind of God. And when you think about that, there's nothing we have ever done that God is not aware of. Oh, come on, give me a break. Like, you know, everything God's got going on in the world, all the wars and all the stuff and all the terrorism, you think he's worried about my little piddly life? That's why he's God and you're not. Everything that we know, everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we feel is known to the mind of God. And there's nothing we will ever do that escapes the presence of God. And so, to try to understand that, try to understand what that means in our lives, that everything we say to people, everything we mumble under our breath is known to the mind of God. That awareness calls us to a complete statement of faith in our lives. Now, please understand that desiring God, being a prayerful person, being a holy person, being a faithful person, will not allow us to escape being a human person. You know, my desire for holiness, my desire to be pleasing in the sight of God, my desire to act and think and imitate the life of Christ does not mean, oh good, I'm never going to think that again. I'm never going to feel that again. I'm never going to be tempted to that again. Gee, if I had more faith, I wouldn't be so flawed. Gee, if I had more faith, I wouldn't be so human. Excuse me. Humanity and faithfulness work hand in hand. God's grace builds upon our nature. God's grace will not allow me to be beyond or above being tempted. God's grace will allow me in the midst of temptation to make it a thought and not an act. God's grace in the midst of temptation will allow me to walk away from sinful circumstances. God's grace will allow me to turn the terrible thoughts of the evil thoughts into something more consoling or more pleasing in the sight of God. But to think we're ever going, if I really love God, I'm not going to think that. And if I really love God, I'm not going to be like that. No, if I really love God, I'm going to still be human. I'm not going to follow through on it. I'm going to ask God's grace. I'm going to turn to St. Michael the Archangel in times of tribulation, in times of temptation. I'm going to turn to God, but I'm still going to be my same flawed, tempted human self. But by the grace of God, I'm not going to give in to myself. I'm going to trust that God is going to bring me through it. I am going to trust that God is going to give me strength. And so it's that total awareness. It's that total awareness that everything we do is known to the mind of God. And you know what? With our children, our spouse, we think we can get away with stuff. Don't ever think we can get away with stuff in the sight of God, because that challenge to live our lives totally for God means that, when we go to our place of business on Monday morning, we're not a different person than we were on Sunday morning in church, and hopefully you're in church. And when we go to the place of business and we have to be very kind because we want their business, and we have to be all this, that, and the other, and we have to put up with their stupidity because we can't be critical. We want their business. And then I hope that's the same person who comes home at night and treats their family the same way. You ever realize that? Stuff that we say and do to the people we love the most, we'd never do to a complete stranger. The complete stranger would tell us to kiss off and they'd never see us again. But we get away with this stupidity with people that we love. We say and do things that we have no business saying and doing. So that challenge to make the thought of being pleasing in the sight of God what I do every day. Let me give you a little just recommendation. Most of us have an idea of most of the things we have to do today. There's always the unexpected. But people who have a tough time praying, take 15 minutes every morning. Have a cup of coffee, go sit somewhere. There's no rosary, no novena book, no Bible, no anything. And just think about who I'm seeing, what I'm doing. And ask God to come with you. Ask God, I know this is going to be a little tight and a little tough in there. Ask God to be part of that. Every night before you go to bed, replay the reel. Replay the disc of the day and realize what you've done, who you've seen, how you've acted, how you've treated people. And ask God to help you be better and say a good act of contrition. Those two things, plan your day and end your day, are a great way that we'll love Him with our whole heart, our whole soul, our whole mind, and make Him the center of our universe. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you for joining us here at Closer Walk Catholic Communications. More than ever, we feel that there's a great need to offer an alternative voice to mainstream media. Oftentimes, the voices that we hear and the lessons that we learn in the morals of the story are immoral at best. The need for us to offer the gospel message with great clarity and great charity is greater than ever in today's society. So we thank you. We thank you for all the support you give us here. First of all, we need your prayerful support, because without the gift of prayer, we do nothing. Without the gift of the Holy Spirit and God's grace, we do nothing. Secondly, we're donor driven. We need your support. We need your prayerful support. We need your financial support. Everything that you do for us, all money goes towards spreading the gospel message. Thank you for all that you do, and God bless you and keep you always. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, your whole soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Welcome back. I'm Father Bai, your host. We're glad that you can join us. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Why do you think God became a man? Because we wanted God to see in us what He sees and loves in His Son. It's a salvation event. The whole thing. The virgin birth, the baby, growing up, the Word becoming flesh. God sent one like us in all things but sin, so that we might see what is capable in serving God. And that's the real challenge of our lives. People who don't look to one another to experience God. And I'm not talking about the New Age stuff, okay? I'm not talking about we all become gods and we all become unto ourselves. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that every person is made in the image and likeness of God. And when you talk about serving God, okay, I mean, would you like fries with that God? What are you talking about, okay? Serving God. Talking about sinning against God. Okay, big boy, you want more? We don't do that. We don't do that. When we serve God, we serve the people who are made in His image and likeness. When we sin against God, we sin against the people who are made in the image and likeness. How many times have you had someone, I have aging parents right now, okay? And I'm so grateful. You know, my parents are 88 and 89 years old, and I'm so blessed and so lucky to have my parents. But, you know, trying to do for them and my brothers and we do as much as we can. But we also have other people who love our parents. And they'll come in and they'll bring them something to eat, and they'll come in and help them clean up something. They'll come in and do this, that, and the other, you know, do stuff that, you know, I certainly can't do or don't know how to do, and that sort of thing, things mom and dad need. You realize what an affection you develop for people who do loving things for the people that you love? I'll always be grateful for these people. I'll always be grateful for these people who love my parents and do for them and, you know, provide for them when I'm not able to be there. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift. And consequently, if somebody hurts someone in my family, I'd much rather them hurt me. I love my family. I don't want anyone to do something against my family member, to say something bad, to go out of their way to do something that hurts them. I had to laugh. I'm one of 4 boys, and the baby is a girl. And the interesting thing is, you know, I'm the youngest boy, and she's 4 years younger than I am. And bless her heart, when she went out on her first date, her 4 big brothers, you're going to a little 9th grade dance. Her 4 big brothers met this 9th grade kid at the front door, and, you know, and it was really funny because one of my brothers says, "Boy, what's your intentions with my little sister? We hope we scared the heck out of them, okay?" But, you know, it was that type of thing. This is our baby sister, okay? Kids, you better understand who you're going out with, all right? It'd have been great if we had realized everyone we went out with someone else's little sister, all right? But it's that awareness, that understanding. And we know that when someone hurts someone that we love, it hurts us. It absolutely destroys us to think that someone we love is being treated that way. And so when they say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. How else do we prove our love for God if not by showing our love for the people made in His image and likeness? And so, you know, when people talk about, you know, oh gosh, they're such holy people, they're such good people, they're such prayerful people. Great. Is prayer the only thing that we owe to God? I mean, is just praying enough? Yeah, probably at some point it is. One of the things that I oftentimes hit with people who are older and they're homebound and they're shut in, and they keep praying that God's going to take them. I don't know why God, I want to go meet my husband, I want to go meet my wife, I don't know why God's leaving me here. I'm not good for anything, I'm just a trouble, I'm just a headache and that sort of thing. and they feel very useless. And we had a bishop years ago, not long after I was ordained, who had a wonderful insight to the older people. And he went to all the nursing centers in our diocese, and he had a mass, and he commissioned them as the official prayers of the diocese. We need your prayers. This is what you can do for us. So many people are so busy about so many things, they don't take time to pray for the diocese. Will you be the official prayers of our diocese to make sure that we continue to do a good job and serve God the way we're supposed to? Every one of them had this little certificate, put in a frame and on their wall in the nursing home, because the bishop had given them something to do. And for those people who deal with those limitations in life, what a wonderful gift when they say, Father, why doesn't God take me? Because he don't want you. It's still something you're supposed to do. And right now what you can do is pray. God knows I need it. God knows the church needs it. God knows the world needs it. So many people in need of our prayers. And if you can't remember anyone, then just pray for those people who have no one to pray for them. But if you're homebound and shut in, and you feel like you're useless, believe me, no prayer ever goes unheard, and certainly no prayer is ever useless. And if you need someone to pray for, make me your poster child, okay? I can always use your prayers. But please remember, and most of all, I'd recommend you pray for people who over the years have hurt you. Pray that God will bring them where God wants them to be in life. And then the second thing, for those people who are still capable and they think that, wearing out the knees of your trousers or, spending all day, every day in the Adoration Chapel is all you need to do. Be assured, for those who are healthy and capable and able, prayer is not an end in and of itself. Prayer should be that wellspring. Prayer should be that which we do that enables us to leave church and now make the Word become flesh. We don't go to church simply to say, okay, I've done everything that I can for God. God and I are good. I gave him my hour this week and I gave him my $5. I'm serving God the best that I can. You don't go to church to fulfill your requirement. You go to church to receive the Lord, body and blood, soul and divinity, to be fueled so that when you go out and go to the office and go to the party and go to the health club and go to the supermarket, that's where you serve God. You serve God by recognizing him in the face and in the lives and in the hurt and in the pain of people who need God's presence in our lives. I always have, it happened to me yesterday. Of course, I always dress like this. And I was in the hospital. And you'd be amazed at how many people walk up to you in a hospital, because hospitals are very insecure times for some people. They're in there with someone that they love. There's an illness, there's a disease, there's a possibility of death, there's an uncertainty about what's really wrong. And the minute they see this, it's amazing how many people come up to you and talk to you and say, oh, Father, please, we're not Catholic, but would you come in our room and say a prayer for my mother, my grandmother, my this, my that, my the other thing? We're so worried, we're so concerned. Will you come say a prayer for us? Of course I will. Of course I will. Well, if I don't take time to do that and realize that, you know what, I'm not really ministering to the person in the bed who's sick. I'm ministering to the person who's dragging me down the hall, who's scared to death, who's worried about their loved ones. And I need to say, how you doing? I'm saying a prayer for your mama, but how are you? Darling, you need this, you need that, you need the other thing. That's the opportunities. That's the opportunities all day, every day that we have to serve God. And for years when I was going to Calcutta, a lot of people thought, well, I need to go to Calcutta and serve the poor with you. Yeah, that's nice. You need to recognize God in your office, in your workplace. You know the people just bitter, angry, mad at the world? You know the people that aggravate you? That's where we come and love our neighbor as ourselves. The people no one else likes, the people who drives everyone crazy, the people who aggravate us and frustrate us. That's where our opportunity is to serve God. In the supermarket the other day, and they had this poor guy, and he was young, but he was in my way, and he was kind of half crippled, and he was African American. He had been burned, you know, some of his skin was pink and everything, and you know, and everything like that. And I mean, I was in a hurry, and I had to wait, and I caught myself, thank God. And as he was moving, I said, "Man, I admire you so much. You just keep pushing along, aren't you?" And he turned around and smiled with this crooked smile because of, I guess, a stroke or something, and just smiled. And you know what? And our neighbor as ourselves, this poor guy who knows he's in the way, who knows he's slow, who knows he must aggravate people. Somebody just simply said, "Boy, I'm proud of you. You keep pushing along now. You keep that up." Those are the ways. We're not talking about going to Calcutta and bathing people who have no clothes. We're talking about in the ordinary events of life, you know, someone who seems to be aggravated, you know, at the counter, they've been on their feet all day long. They're a single mom, they're raising 3 children. And to say something like, you know, "Thanks for being so kind. I know it must be tough being on your feet all day." You have no idea how we can bring the face of God in a world that oftentimes sees people who are just too busy for anyone other than themselves, other than their own wants, and other than their own needs. Loving God is the same as loving our own. If we really want to make God happy, then take care of the people that He loves so much. Just like when we have someone do for our child, do for our aging parents, do for someone that we love so much and extend themselves, how wonderful that makes us feel. That's what God wants of us. That's why God reminds us that the second is like the first. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. When we come to see God in the people that we meet, then He truly is the living God and not just a historical figure. We thank you for being with us. May each day bring you closer in your walk with the Lord. God bless you.
Thank you for watching. For copies of today's program, please log on to closerwalkministries.com.